I have a serious interest in nipple piercings. Yeah, nipple piercings. I'm interested in the pain they cause, the stigma that surrounds them, and you could say the people that come with them. At the beginning, it was an obsession, which translated into a theory I thought about all the time. No, I wasn't walking through the halls thinking to myself, gosh, you know what would just look great? If I took a metal rod, stabbed it through my nipple, and popped a jewel on it. No, I was thinking about my theory. So, what is my theory? Well, let's start at the beginning, how I even came up with this odd thing. Now, I don't have nipple piercings, but I do have 6 piercings on my body. I have your standard double lobe piercings on each ear. I have a helix on my left ear and an outer conch on my right ear. Although the stigma surrounding ear piercings is much less harsh than the stigma surrounding nipple piercings, it definitely still exists, and it is especially alive and well in my loving family. Now, don't get me wrong, my family is just another group of liberals living in Ann Arbor, but they definitely don't share the same views on piercings as I do. My parents objected from the idea of me getting a second piercing so much so that I had to travel 617 miles away just to do it at sleepaway camp. My friends and I went full throttle parent trap apple style on my ears. And by the end of the night, I had 2 new holes. We got away with it for a few days, and then a counselor noticed, and the counselor told the director, and the director called my parents. When my dad answered, he was not very happy. When I got home that summer, I was expecting to be yelled at, again, and to receive some serious consequences. But instead, when I got home, they didn't seem too mad anymore. It was as if they weren't too appalled from the actual piercing, but they just didn't want to give me permission to do this to my body. I found this very interesting, so I decided to do a little experiment. I wanted to be able to disprove any argument anybody, even my parents, could have against piercings or getting another piercing. So, what did I do? I got another piercing. This time, I hid my piercing for 5 weeks. That's 5 weeks with 2 more holes in my body, and that's 5 painful weeks of only wearing my hair down. But it was supposedly during these 5 weeks that my brain would somehow be poisoned or negatively affected in some way. After 2 weeks into my experiment, I got a little bit comfortable. So I decided to drop a few hints. One morning, I spent breakfast with my hair up. Once, I even joked about how funny it would be if I had pierced my ears again and nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. Finally, I decided to reveal my new piercings to my parents. They were mad. Then I revealed to them my new piercings that I got 5 weeks ago, and they were silent. I laughed. I rationally explained to them that any negative reasons surrounding me getting another piercing just didn't make sense, because obviously this piercing has not and will not lead me down a dark and twisty path. Because other than a slight, and may I add, optional alteration to my appearance, nothing else had changed. So, after my personal experiment, I decided to do some personal research. I looked up cultural backgrounds that included nipple piercings, I looked up some influential figures who had nipple piercings, and I thought about society today and how the majority of people would share the same views on piercings as my parents. Then I thought about everybody who had nipple piercings and how they would be categorized in today's society. Perhaps if you closed your eyes. Close your eyes. Picture someone with nipple piercings. Yeah. You might also automatically assign them to also have colored hair or tattoos. Probably not your average Karen or Patrick. Where would they work? Where would they work? You're probably not thinking of your conventional office job. Maybe what you're thinking of would be considered out there. But is this accurate, I wondered? Are people generalized and judged because they have these piercings? Or do people with these piercings naturally float towards this alternative lifestyle? So it was at this Then I started to think about the complete opposite. political and business women and men. How come they didn't have nipple piercings? Did people naturally associate these professional titles with being conservative with their bodies? Or did an all-powerful figure with nipple piercings exist? Let's say, perhaps, Michelle Obama had nipple piercings. Would the stigma change around nipple piercings or Michelle Obama? Because would there be certain whispers going around sounding something a little bit like this? Did you hear that the First Lady has nipple piercings? I mean, could you imagine? Ugh. But if Michelle Obama had nipple piercings, how would anybody know? She could easily conceal her piercings under a bra and a shirt, just as I had easily concealed mine under my hair. It was at this point that I realized the stigma around ear piercings and nipple piercings, and any piercings for that matter, was actually only around the presence of the piercing itself. It was this visible body accessory that made people so uncomfortable. But why? Well, let's take nipple piercings, for example. What is it? It's literally taking a piece of cold, hard metal and puncturing it through one of the most sensitive parts of your body, on purpose. And it is this extremely sensitive and raw experience that is shared when a piercing is made visible. And because of society's need to erase and control anything that can be considered uncomfortable or controversial, they're frowned upon. Just as how someone in a job interview would be judged for having nipple piercings, they would also be judged for revealing their sexuality, their religion, or a traumatic experience. So, what is my theory? Well, I think that everybody has nipple piercings. I mean, I have nipple piercings, you have nipple piercings, everybody in the whole world has nipple piercings. Everybody has an experience that is so sensitive and raw that if shared, they can be judged extremely. Everybody has an experience that if they expose it, they can be judged. But if it's kept invisible, then they're completely safe from the opinions of the world. And it is up to that person and that person only on whether or not they share that experience. So, my question for you today is, what is your nipple piercing? What is under your shirt? Thank you.